Today, we're going to talk about a huge shift in how businesses need to see the world around them. We're moving biodiversity from the landscaping column on a spreadsheet to the strategic business risk column. And that changes everything.
Hello and a warm welcome from all of us here at Metricone.
So, let's just jump right in with a question. And be honest with yourself on this one. When your company talks about its biodiversity plan, is it basically just a conversation about planting some trees to make a new development look nice and green? If the answer is yes, you might be missing a much, much bigger picture. And that question, well, he gets right to the heart of a really common and dangerous misconception. For way too long, biodiversity has been treated like a cosmetic fix. A bit of green paint at the end of a project. This slide just lays out the gap perfectly. On the left, you've got the old, simple view. Hey, let's add some trees, it'll look great, and we can say we did our part. But the reality, over on the right, is so much deeper. True biodiversity management is all about understanding how your project impacts the entire living system of a place, before you even break ground, during construction, and long after you've left. Here's probably the best way to think about it. Biodiversity isn't just a feature of a location, it's the location's entire operating system. It's the whole network, the soil, the tiny organisms in it, the pollinators, the water systems, the pathways animals use. It's everything working together. You could have a site that looks beautiful and green, but if you've damaged that underlying OS, maybe you've messed up the water flow or cut off a habitat connection, the whole thing can just crash. And here's the kicker. A crashed operating system isn't just an environmental problem. Not anymore. This is where we shift gears and talk about why this is now a critical strategic business risk. One that hits your bottom line hard. So what does that risk actually look like in the real world? Well, we are talking about tangible, expensive consequences. Things like your project approvals getting delayed for months, stalling everything, or being forced into costly redesigns. We're talking about fines, enforcement actions, and the kind of reputational damage that can seriously erode trust with investors and customers. These are not soft issues. These are hard, cold financial risks. And this quote right here, it just nails the problem. Finding out about a protected species or a critical wetland after you've already started construction, that can completely derail your timeline and your budget. It's exactly why dealing with biodiversity can't be the last thing you do. It has to be one of the very first. Okay, so if that's the risk, what's the solution? How do you manage it? Well, there's a really powerful framework for getting ahead of the problem. It's called the mitigation hierarchy, and it's a much smarter, stronger way to approach this. Now, this is super important. This is not just a random checklist. It is a sequence of priorities. First and foremost, the absolute best thing you can do is avoid the impact completely. Just don't cause the damage in the first place. If you absolutely can't avoid it, then your next job is to reduce the impact as much as you possibly can. After that, you work to restore anything that was damaged. And only then, as a final last resort, do you offset any leftover damage, maybe by funding a conservation project somewhere else.
I know that can sound a little abstract, so let's bring it down to earth and make it practical. How does this hierarchy actually work on a real-world project?
Let's imagine your project site is located near an ecological corridor. You can literally think of this as a highway for wildlife. It's a vital route that connects different habitats and lets animals move around, find food, and breed safely. So here's the scenario. Your development plans look like they might interfere with this wildlife highway. So what do? How do you apply that four-step hierarchy we just talked about to manage this risk effectively? Here's how it plays out in practice. First, you try to avoid. The smartest move? Redesign the site access road so it just goes around the corridor entirely. Problem solved. If that's truly impossible, then you reduce. Maybe you limit noisy construction work and bright lights at night when animals are most active. Then you restore. You go back and replant native trees and shrubs along the edges to fix any disturbance. And only if there's still a negative impact after all that do you offset it, say by paying to protect a similar corridor in another location.
You see, thinking this way, it takes biodiversity management out of the field, away from being just a site-level issue, and it puts it right where it belongs, in the boardroom. It becomes a core part of corporate strategy.
Because the new business reality is already here. Investors are demanding nature-positive action. Regulators are enforcing it. Getting your permits and staying in compliance now depends on it. How your company interacts with the natural world directly impacts your asset value, your reputation, and maybe most importantly, your long-term resilience in a rapidly changing world. And this really captures the entire story. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in thinking. We're moving away from the old way, where nature was just a pretty decorative layer you added at the end, to the new way, where protecting nature is understood to be absolutely core to business resilience itself.
And that leaves us with this final, crucial thought. This isn't just about being green for the sake of it. This is about smart, responsible planning that builds a business that's truly ready for the future. So the question to take back to your team isn't just, did we plant enough trees? The real question is our business resilient enough to protect its own operating system?